Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Health Caring Mom. I'm Regina. Thank you so much for joining me. Last week I spoke to you about what an autoimmune disease was, particularly Hashimoto's. And today I'm going to share with you 3 steps to healing, with also some resources as to where to find help, where to find pretty much what the next steps are if you haven't already found a functional medicine doctor. So I'm going to dive right in, and if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to help. So my first step, I think, for myself was family support. And I think it's just so important because you just find out you have a chronic illness. And it could be very daunting. While there is a lot of information out there now, 4 years ago when I was first diagnosed, I didn't really know where to start. And that's why I've started this channel, because hopefully it'll help someone figure out what their next steps are. Because a lot of times, like in my case, I was seeing an endocrinologist, and he told me that I had to basically take a medication the rest of my life, and I would have my thyroid removed. And that wasn't something I was willing to do, and I did not want to go down that path. And I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just sharing my experience. So going back to my first step of healing is family support. I have to say it was a little embarrassing for me to talk about it. It wasn't easy. I kind of went through a stage of grief because I was sad. I didn't want to know that I had to be different. In life, as a child, you're told, everyone's unique and you have certain skills that make you you, and I just didn't always like the attention brought on to me. I didn't want people to know I had to be different. I had to eat differently. I had to change the way I use products, beauty products, cleaning products, which I will dive into later on in further episodes. But family support is just crucial, because you have to reach out when you know you have a lot on your plate and you need the support from your family. And sometimes it's so hard to ask because you're already feeling down about yourself, knowing that you have an illness, and you have to figure out now how to navigate life. You have to change a lot of things. Like I said, you have to change the way you eat, the cleaning products, the beauty products, but also the way you manage your stress is very important. Your job, your caring for children. In my case, I had, 3 kids under the age of 5. And so I had a very short time of going through all the motions of pregnancy and postpartum, and all the hormonal changes that happen with that normally. On top of it, I have an illness. So my best advice is to seek family support and friends, and know that someone who loves you and cares for you is going to understand. The biggest thing for me also was social. I kind of didn't go out a lot. I couldn't drink alcohol. For me, it was changing my diet. So no gluten, no dairy, no soy, no corn. I had to read labels. So going out to eat was a very difficult thing to change, because socially, my husband and I, we liked it. We enjoyed it. And even just meeting friends for pizza was just no longer a thing I could do. And once you change your mindset as to, I can't do this, well, what can I do? And once people see your outlook has changed, they're going to want to support you. But that was the biggest thing for me, was socially. Even events at school, I have to bring my own food, and it's okay. And once you get over that feeling of not being like everybody else, it's no longer a challenge, which, I'm not gonna lie, at the beginning it is a challenge. And even explaining to your husband, your spouse, your cousin, your mom, why can't I have family dinners anymore of, pasta and, that for an example. So it's just being vocal, but you have to understand this is a lifestyle for your betterment. You have to change the way that you do things. And the first thing is knowing that it's okay to be different. The second thing I'm going to let you know is research your condition. Now, I found 4 years ago when I went to the public library, there was a lot of books and websites on Hashimoto's particularly, but it was very general. It kind of wasn't a kind of like a roadmap as to what I should do, what to look forward to, what I couldn't do anymore. So what I've done, and my hope for this channel, is to share those things with you, because I kind of was very overwhelmed. So you're already overwhelmed because you have a chronic illness that you just found out of, but you also now have to navigate as to what's going to make you better, because not everything works for you. What works for, Susie might not work for you, and what works for John might not work for you. And that is where I sought out help from a functional medicine doctor. And even that can be overwhelming, because there's genetic testing that I did, and I'm saying that you have to do it, but this is what I did. Genetic testing. I did a kind of like a 12-week plan on supplements, and I kept a food journal. It was a lot, and I would say that functional medicine is the way to go, but you have to research. Now, I found, let me see on my notes here, I found two functional medicine doctors, and they have a Facebook page that puts out articles and blogs pretty much every day, a few times a day, and that was very helpful. The first one I'm going to tell you about is called Dr. Mark Hyman, Hyman. He does several podcasts, and he also writes several articles on different blogs. He writes for the New York Times, so he is highly respectable in that community. And we'll talk about anything from an autoimmune disease to fasting to adrenal issues, which also goes hand in hand with an autoimmune disease, particularly Hashimoto's. My next one is Dr. FranK Lipman, Lipman. He has a Facebook page, and he also writes articles and blogs, and is very reputable. And my last one, who I just adore, and it's funny because when you start to follow people, you kind of feel like you know them, but you really don't. This is a female. Her name's Aviva Romm, Romm. She has a book, which I don't have right now. I actually checked it out from the library. That was my first book that I don't remember how I stumbled upon her. But she also has a podcast called Natural MD Radio, and she is just fascinating. And she was an herbalist. She was a midwife. She's a Yale-trained MD who now specializes in women's health. And she talks about fertility, infertility, menopause, so along with that, your menstrual cycle and hormones, from adolescence to menopause age women, and everything in between. So I find her very relatable and just a source of knowledge. And I have to say, she is the one who kind of made me start researching more and more and more as to what I had and how I could help others. And that was, kind of my stepping stone to doing this channel. Is, I am not certified in anything medically, but to know that I could help someone else has been my greatest gift to others, and I really do enjoy that. And I have a lot of people, friends, that come to me and ask me, hey, I'm having this problem with breakouts, what should I do? And I always lead them to really Aviva Romm, because she's just so knowledgeable, and people will respect, obviously, when you have a title behind your name. So that's who I recommend. And my last recommendation for research is by another doctor, and her name, I actually have her book, I don't have the cover. It's called Hashimoto's Protocol. I don't know if you can see that, it's probably backwards, but it's Izabella Wentz, Wntz, and she's a pharmacist. who was trained in the conventional medicine and actually had found out she had Hashimoto's. And she, in this book, has a 90-day protocol on what she did with her case studies. So it's also a lot of information, but she gives you, like I said, a 90-day protocol on your steps on how to find your root cause, which is a big thing in figuring out your what caused your autoimmune disease. And she has liver support protocol, adrenal support, gut balance, your root cause, and then she also has a section on protocols for optimizing thyroid hormones, nutrition, and what nutrients to use, because now that you have a chronic illness, you have to find out what your body is lacking, what nutrients are lacking, and that really goes hand in hand. And I'm talking like basics, it's vitamin D, getting enough vitamin D from the sun, but also what your body's not taking in. So she talks about what supplements to use, and also infections. I remember when I was in my early 20s, or even in high school, everyone talked about mono, and that is actually called the Epstein-Barr virus. And everyone was afraid of it. And I think I actually had it, because in my early 20s, I was just constantly sick. That recurring cold that I just could not get rid of. The runny nose, the sore throat. I didn't really have itchy eyes. And it was more, now I'm thinking back, it was food allergies, environmental allergies. I mean, my mom used to clean the house, and, the room spray would give me such headaches, and I used Tupperware, and I heated up my food in Tupperware, and I would eat bowls of pasta before I went to my track meet, for instance. So there's a lot that you have to change, and I feel like this book from Dr. Wentz was very helpful in figuring out what to remove and what to include. And the last thing was removing toxins. We have such a toxic burden every day when we walk outside the door, even in your home, between the cleaners that you use, your flooring, the upholstery. And I know it's very scary, but you have to just kind of pick and choose, obviously, what you can change and the things that you can't change, but how to also help your body remove those toxins. I know when I went to the functional medicine doctor, I had genetic testing done, I had 23andMe done, and also I had a heavy metal test, and I was very high with lead and mercury. Now, lead and mercury are pretty much in everything. Now, the doctor had told me it could have gone back to when my mother had me, when she was pregnant with me, and she had some mercury fillings, in her teeth. And that was passed down to me. So some things you just can't take out and remove, but like in this book, and also Dr. Aviva Romm talks about how to clear the pathway in your body, how to encourage proper toxin removal. So that's a big, big thing, because there's just a toxic burden everywhere, and we're seeing, so many health issues arise from that, and that's why autoimmune diseases are on the rise. Even food allergies and sensitivities, and even children with cancer rates are just through the roof because of all this toxic burden. Now, lastly, going back to my steps for healing, my last one is how to incorporate self-care. And that is something I still struggle with. And I listen to Aviva Romm talks about how to incorporate love for yourself. And like I said, that was the hardest for me, because as being a mom to 3 kids, and having a husband and having a house to support, you're last on the list. Your family's up here, their nutrition, the kids' after school activities, projects and reports, keeping the house clean, grocery shopping, laundry, And then, you're way down here. It's a long day, and the days go by fast, but the years go by even faster. So it's something, like I said, I still struggle with, and I found what helps for me is being outside. There's so much. Dr. FranK Lipman talks a lot about the benefits of being outside and just being in nature, and taking your walk, and um, taking a break from the computer and the TV and just even your phone, just taking, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes outside, taking a walk the dog. We just recently adopted a dog in February, so 2 months ago. We adopted a golden, and she's super sweet and super lovely, and I have had such a different, kind of more optimistic day. After dropping the kids off, I don't come home and I'm like, oh, now I have to start laundry, and I have to think about what is going to be for dinner, and my kids have tennis practice, and there's a report due this weekend. I need to go get supplies, and I come home now and I say, oh, her name is Lulu, and I say, oh, I get to walk Lulu, and I take her 30 minutes every day. Granted, there are some days where I'm looking at my watch and I'm stressed for time, and but looking at her and knowing that she looks forward to it kind of makes me accountable, and that helps. So I'm not telling you to go get a dog, but if you do have a dog, take the dog out. I live in Florida, South Florida. It's very hot and humid. We are in full summer already, and we're only in April. So we have many months of heat and humidity. And it's okay, you get over it. You sweat a little and you go back inside in the air conditioning, but you know that you had that break for yourself. One other thing I want to do, yoga has really helped me. And I'm talking about yoga at home. There are places I've tried that did hot yoga, but it was too much stress on me. And I know yoga is supposed to be the opposite. It's supposed to not make you stressed, but it was hot yoga, and it was a little more advanced than I was used to, so it kind of put my adrenals at stress, and my cortisol level rised. And I started noticing, my hair was falling out more, my skin was breaking out, and I just knew it was time to just cut it out. So I found a woman, her name is Cassandra with a K, and she does yoga with Cassandra, and it's free YouTube videos, and she's just wonderful, and she has 10-minute workouts, 30 minutes workouts, 45-minute workouts, 1-hour workouts, and all stages. I mean, sometimes I'll do it with my girls, the 10-minute, just for them to get a good stretch. And she really is amazing. So I highly encourage you to find some form of exercise, and just to relieve your everyday stress. And know that it's okay if you don't do it every day. There are days where I don't get it, but I know that I have my walk with our dog Lulu. So that makes me feel a little bit better that I've done something for myself. It's an added bonus if I can get a 30-minute yoga video or video session in, because that's great. But it doesn't happen every day, and that's okay, and you have to be realistic on what your expectations are. So that's another thing, is just realize and know and listen to your body and figure out what helps you and what doesn't help you. And that's why research comes in, talking to other people, seeing what works for them, because it's just trial and error, and you have to find and figure out what helps you before you get into a bad state, because that you're leading down the wrong path, and you want to go up, you don't want to go down. So I hope this video was helpful for you today, and I hope everyone out there can do something health caring for themselves. And next week I'm going to talk about things like switching from home cleaners, and also switching your the products you use at home, so like your Tupperware, your storage ware, and things to that nature. So next week's going to be more talking about the home and what I did and what I found helped for us as a family. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.